With very little snow, except for on the top of the mountains, the organising committee here in Clusaz have done a fantastic job and ready for the men's relay coming up soon. It's a 4x8 kilometre competition. Normally it's 4x10, but the lack of snow just making that a little bit difficult here. I think the course allows, well, to Sweden, Russia, Finland, France. I think there's going to be a lot more care taken to keep a hold of. We're expected to see Team Norway at the front, so there'll be a lot of teams focusing in on holding the pace.
Well, with yesterday's results, Krog and Sundby both up in the top two, I should say. Norway looking devastatingly strong. The French, can they raise their game? They've done it in the past here, and they've got Maurice Magnificat coming up at the later stages.
Well, the French team, they were a little disappointed yesterday in the mass start. They were hoping for a podium. It didn't quite happen, so they have another chance today. Maybe, just maybe, they can put that right. As you can see, 8 kilometres. Look at the German team. Bing, he started well yesterday. Schank, Knott and Bögel. I think that's a good quartet, but they need to stick with the pace early on. 3 second teams, the French, the Russians and the Norwegians. Historically, some teams have been able to put 3 and 4 different teams in. This year, the rules have changed. You can only enter 1 second team. So only 3 nations opting for that. As I mentioned, France, Russia and Norway have a second team.
And again, going back to the course, Mike, the biggest climb comes early on, as we see Emil Jonsson there, who starts for Norway. 2 classic legs, 2 freestyle, which I'm trying to remember which year that came in. Was it the 90s?
I think it was the 90s, yep. Of course, wanting to keep the traditional, the classic technique. Belov, Legkov, Shervotkin, Ushtikov. That's a good quartet. Those names are pretty strong.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to beat. And if anyone's going to hang on to Norway, they will do it. Norway with Sundby going last, Mike. Do you think they're expecting to see him do the damage? What's the news on Petter Northug?
Well, Petter Northug, after or leading into Davos, just not feeling himself, so deciding not to take part there. So his health was his little issue there earlier on.
Yeah, when I say last, I meant the second of the classic leg. So Sundby, you know, he's a bit of a key player to have on that second leg, the final classic. Well, beautiful conditions. If you ignore the lack of snow, it's a little bit too warm. I'm surprised to see so many of them have headgear on. It's almost short sleeve order, isn't it, Mike?
Well, we saw some of that yesterday at 13 degrees just after midday yesterday. A little colder today. Well,
so they're underway, and 4x10 kilometres. We saw a 4x7.5 last year. I enjoyed the slightly shorter, sharper distance. Norway wearing the red bibs as the World Cup leaders. It is the first relay of the season, so that's from last year's standings, and they've been very, very dominant. Of course, the current world champions, they took the title in Falun. They'll be looking to take it again in Lahti. Lahti's an interesting one. Usually the profile of the courses there is very different, Mike, with a sort of plateau-like geography.
Very much, and well, Juhajärvi, Hirvonen, Lehtinen and Nusiainen today, those Finnish names, they're going to, this is their test out. They want to, I think the Finnish team want to make a statement today to show that they have a real chance of pushing for the, not just medals, but the gold medal in Lahti at the World Championships.
Well, there's quite a margin now between the first 12 teams, but we still have, what, a group of 3, followed by a group of 3, then 1, 2, 3 behind them. So it's going to be a tight second leg, no doubt about it. And Norway 2 have got one over Norway 1. Paul Goldberg's done a good job. He's skied aggressively, done his share at the front, and he timed his break very, very well on that last lap. Able to stay with the Russians. Yevgeny Belov couldn't get away from him. So going second for Norway 2 is Niklas Drihaug, then Svein and Stor Bodas waiting to go. I don't think we're going to see them beat the Norwegians' first team, but they'll enjoy the fact that they've been first home on the first leg. Czech Republic going well, Mike, only 8.7 behind. The Finns in 7th place, or 8th place at the moment, 3.5 behind. So a good start for Finland. And we haven't really picked them out. Jauhijärvi, Hervanen, Lehtonen, Nusiainen, their quartet today.
Well, just checking the jury decision. Yes, it is Jönsson. Only one athlete picked up for that technique violation, so skating too far around the corner, perceived to have gained an advantage from that, and he's been given the yellow card. Oh, also Vukov.
Emil Vukiev of Russia gets the yellow card.
Well, we saw him having no wax on his skis, so maybe he was carrying that little skate too far up the hill.
Well, that means that Russia and Sweden are going to have to be a little bit careful. Vukiev, of course, with Russia's second team, he's handed over to Volzentsev. Now, let's just do a name check at Lillehaug for Norway. They're wearing 15. Just behind him wearing 3 is Alexander Legkov, who's one of the masters of the classic technique. Incredible strength sessions that Legkov goes through in the gym. Certainly worth the YouTube if you want to strengthen your double poling. But some of the exercises he does are quite frightening. And the intensity, the amounts they do. But you can only do that if you've done it week in, week out for year after year. Welcome back to La Clusaz. While we're on the break, we've had a chance just to appreciate what Martin Jonsrud Sundby is attempting to do. He's not got any wax on his skis. He's going to try and double pole the whole way around this 8-kilometre lap, or not a 2-kilometre lap, but he's got to go around 4 times. I think the profile of this course and the fact that nowadays they're not allowed to use super long poles, I'm not convinced it's the right decision.
Blimey, I'll tell you, only one man in the world would be brave enough to attempt that, and that is Jonsrud Sundby. I think his upper body is going to superload. The lactic acid will be bubbling in his upper body. But as you mentioned, he's modifying his technique a little, dropping lower through the knees, which you have to, with they're just slightly shorter poles than he used last year.
Yeah, so he's on shorter poles, but he's trying to make his short poles feel long by increasing the flexion in the ankle and the knee.
Very much, but it's almost like doing squats, isn't it, when you're dropping down in the double poling? So I think you'll fatigue over this. Look at the long climbs. There he is at the front, double poling. I also noticed, Patrick, that he did, in my opinion, skated a little over the top of the rise, and the jury will be on his case, so he needs to be careful.
8 teams in that leading group, and Team 9 at the back, that's Germany with Tim Schanker. Florian Notz taking over from him, and 4K's gone, another 4,000 metres for Sundby to double pole. I have to say, although I'd never have made that decision, it does make it interesting. I can quite see why they want to keep the classic style above everything else. The manufacturers of stick wax do not want classic to go out, because that's the bulk of their business.
Yes, and yet, does the sport need a new technique effectively, where you would just have races which are entirely double poling? I think the old traditional classic technique should be maintained, and I think it's a good first point was to put a limit on the height of the poles. It's not the end result, but I think it's held it back a little this season.
Alex Razim of the Czech Republic. Martin Jaks had a really good leg first time around. I'm slightly surprised to see we haven't seen, I can't remember seeing anyone race with one ski waxless and the other with wax on. So you just do step double pole all the way. It's easier to get up the hills than double poling, and of course on the downhill sections you can put the majority of your weight on the ski that doesn't have wax on.
You know, I wonder if that's been tested, because maybe if you had a greater wax pocket, put a lot of wax on one side, but you'd be in an imbalance, wouldn't you, over 8 kilometres, over 20 minutes. It would hurt one side of your body more than the other.
Yeah, you'd have to stop halfway around and switch your skis over.
What do you think, the coaches in the Norwegian first team, what the survey will be? Well, we're past half distance, and Sundby isn't at the front. He's only 2 seconds off the front. Is it working? He's still there.
Well, Sundby, I think Sundby he's assessed the situation. He's taking this lap much slower. He's given up trying to get away at this stage, and he will have worked out where he needs to be in the lead. If he can get 10 seconds, that could be handy for Anders Gluresen. And then, of course, we got Finnhagen Krog on the last leg. It may turn out that Krog has to do the damage, and Sundby's just saying, OK, I can't get away from this lot. I'll just stay with them. But, Mike, he may make a break on this climb next time round and hope that he can then open up 15 seconds or so.
Well, he's a little trapped in behind Jens Burman now.
But his skis were obviously faster on the first lap. They were not obviously faster on the second, so maybe he's going to lose all the advantage. Italy, Russia, Sweden, Norway 2, Finland, France, Norway 1, and then Germany. And Sundby struggling. He's still got to go up this climb again. And suddenly the difference between Sundby and the leaders is some 35-40 metres. It's not looking good for Norway 1, but they're not out of it yet because they've got two fabulous skiers coming up on legs 3 and 4. But it makes an interesting situation.
It does, mate. I'm a little surprised that he made the call to go entirely double poling around this particular track. Doesn't look that difficult from where we sit, but these inclines are so steep, so difficult, and eventually those smaller muscle groups will fatigue the upper body, the arms. I have to say, sorry, Sundby was being extremely careful not to skate. I was watching him all the way.
What do you think in terms of percentages in classic? How much comes out? How much of the power? How much of the speed generation comes out of the upper body? How much out of the lower body?
Well, I think it's been viewed and tested. Jyväskylä many years ago in Finland, the sports university. A lot of it looked, and the opinion is between 28 and like 32% coming through the arms of your power. Of course, the legs are the main muscle group.
Oh, difficult times for Martin Jonsrud Sundby. He doesn't want this sort of a gap to open up, and now he's got a really... You're so harsh, Mike. Give him a break.
There.
Give him a break. It's a tight corner. You've got to change the angle of the skis.
He will pull time back in now. He's struggling, and this is where on the third time around his arms will be at their most loaded.
A real opportunity for Sweden or Russia or Finland or France to make their break now. Here are the trailing teams. 11 is the Czech Republic. Finland are still in with the leading group. Just having a look to see, they're number 4. There you can see Ivarinen. So 2Ks to go, and Sundby, who was leading at this stage after 2 kilometres, is at the back of the group. And actually, Mike, he's got to get back to taking advantage of the ski speed and move to the front. So he's in the front at the bottom of the hill. That's what we'd see Petter Northug do.
It would be indeed good to see Giorgio Van Zeta. I'm thinking a little further
Giorgio
back.
Di Centa.
Oh, Giorgio Di Centa. Well, he looked a little nervous there. He's taking the first of the freestyle legs when this group here finished this last 2 kilometres.
Legkov leading the way at the moment. The Italians with Francesco De Fabiani, maybe they fancy their chance of winning here. They've got Federico Pellegrino on the last leg, Mike, so if Pellegrino can stay with the leaders, and that's something that, over 20 years, the Italians have always been the team that have hung on, and then made a bid for glory in the last kilometre or so.
Yeah, Giorgio, though, Di Centa taking this first leg, I'm not sure he'll be able to stay with the pace. He didn't look particularly strong yesterday, finishing midfield.
What's the best relay you've ever watched?
Oh, so many good ones. I remember Lillehammer. Maybe it was because 130,000 people were watching at the Olympics there. I loved that one. And I was disappointed for Norway getting it a little wrong in the final 200 metres.
Yeah, that was an interesting race. The other one I enjoyed was Salt Lake City, actually, 2002, the Olympics there, where there was a cat and mouse again between Norway and Italy.
It was. That was a fabulous one, yeah. Very much cat and mouse. That was Allsgar, wasn't it? Or was it?
It was, yeah.
Well, Sundby, where is he? He's comfortable in there in what, 5th position. He'll lose a little on this next climb.
This is the steep section that gave him a few issues last time round. He's you can see how much leg work he's having to do just to get the upper body, or the body weight, the center of gravity, up and down, because that's where most of the power generation's coming from. Look how close to the body the hands are being planted, just so he's got some strength, and he's not going to be able to match Alexander Legkov, who's gone for a little burst here. It's going to be a decent gap that Legkov develops. Sumbi still trying to hang in there, just behind the French, with Alexis Jeanneret, who's trying to get up with Legkov, but this is where it's so slow. 1, 2, 3, 4 meters given away in the space of that last 10-meter climb.
Oh, just at the very crest of that hill. That's where Sumbi lost all of his distance there, all of his time. And Legkov, with using those with his powerful legs, scrambled up the final climb.
One climb to go, and last opportunity for Sumbi to get back into this, but a margin of now 50 meters between himself and the Russian leader Alexander Legkov.
Well, interestingly, Glursen, next leg for Norway's first team, he went 3rd at the World Championships in Falun, and it went very well on that day for the Norwegian team.
Well, Defadiani's impressed me, Mike. He's now doing his share at the front. Hivarinen of Finland.
Well, he perceived, I did see him skating just a little too often and a little too much.
So here we go. This is where Sumbi's got to try and make his move, and he's certainly up the work rate. He stays in the tracks longer than anyone else, but he's a good 25 meters behind on this ascent, and even coming through is Germany, and that's Tim Schanker, who looks strong, and I'm longing to see his facial expression when he comes over the line for the last time.
Oh, exhausted over the top of that one, so it's now just a downhill journey for Sumbi.
Well, I think the fact that everyone will have seen Sumbi suffering is going to put a lot of people off trying this later on in the season. Maybe that change in length of the pole, that new regulation, maybe that has made all the difference. Maybe they asked him to go without wax just so they could see what the difference is.
I don't think he'd risk that on a World Cup relay, but it's been a great comparison, hasn't it? He started strong but faded in the latter stages.
So as they come in at the end of leg 2, Norway still leading, but it's Norway's second team with Niklas Dyrhaug, who will hand over to Simon Andreas Sven. He gets away first. Italy on their tail. Russia, after a good leg from Legkov, now rely on Alexei Shavotkin on leg number 3. Sweden in 4 with Martin Johansson, and then Axel Ekström. I can't see Sweden managing to stay with it, but we've seen a few surprises this year, and who's to say we're not going to see a few more. Clement Paris of France, the French, how they would love to win here. It's been a long time. What did you say, 2008 when they got their only
podium.
victory?
The last, it was put to 3rd actually on that day, and of course they've had podiums at World Championships and Olympics in the relay.
But the French have won here. I think they won the first race here.
2004.
And suddenly the pace has slowed. Martin Johansson not interested in pushing it hard, or is he just supremely efficient on the skis? Still covering the ground at something like 27, 28 kilometers an hour, but he's capable of more.
Well, Johansson, he was very strong, very competitive in Davos last week. 20th position, it wasn't bad. A Swede who lives in Oslo.
And Norway won. They're not out of it. We haven't seen a picture of Martin Jonsrud Sumbi, but I should think there he is.
Well, only just, under 3 kilometers of the 8 on this last leg, and Ustigov is really trying to take the sting out of all the other athletes. He's gone very early. I think he's just trying to get rid of some teams. This pack of 9 is just too big.
Yeah, Finland, Sweden and Italy suddenly find themselves 20 meters adrift. In no man's land a little is Nusiainen of Finland.
You just sense that Ustigov is taking energy from Finn Hagen, looking a little edgy, looking back, not taking much of the lead.
Well, if Norway win this, Norway's A team, I should say, then Sundby will have won all 3 relays held here in La Clusaz. There are very few men on the World Cup Tour who've won 3 relays in total.
Their lifetime. Quite amazing. Nusiainen, a lot of shoulder movement. Nusiainen, is that indicating he's tired? I think it really is that right hand lead that he has that he raises it more than anybody.
Ustiakov looks so strong up front, doesn't he? A very solid core. We were talking about the work that Legkov does in the gym. Ustiakov does the same, but a lot of core work in there. And you can certainly see it in the women's, particularly in the women's, when they get tired, the whole upper body starts to rock and roll. Those who are feeling strong, absolutely solid from the pelvis up to the lower rib cage.
Gives you so much more leverage in the skating technique through your skis by keeping rigid, doesn't it, through the core. All that energy from Ustiakov, and he's allowing it to slow down, so all 8 teams will close back in again.
Krog having another look over his shoulder about 20 seconds ago. Mike, I'm just trying to work out who is he worried about. Surely he's not sort of thinking Norway 2 are going to come in. Again, he's just checking the situation behind him.
It's Pellegrino, I think, at the back.
Is it Pellegrino that he wants to get rid of?
I think so, and he's realising that Ustiakov's heavy pace on the uphills is beginning to get rid of Italy, Pellegrino.
We started with 7, and we still have 7. An hour and 3 on the clock. The last of the World Cup relays, where was it? We had one in Novo Miesto last year, and that, of course, won by the Norwegians. Rota, Sundby, Rundgren and Finnhagen Krog on the last leg on that occasion, but he had a 30-second advantage at the start of the final leg. The damage had been done by Sundby. I've always thought, Mike, that the order of classic freestyle favours the freestyle skier, the strong freestyle nations. If it was freestyle first, followed by the classic legs, you could get a very different result.
I think you probably would. I like the fact that it is the classic style first, the old traditional style, and then, yes, they're travelling, what, 5 kilometres an hour faster in the freestyle than they do in the classic.
And the same with the skiathlon. That favours the freestyle skiers. If they switch that around alternate years, I know it's hard with the tracks because once the classic tracks have been skated on, they're pretty much non-existent. But generally, for the major championships, there are enough tracks and there's enough snow not to have to go anywhere near the course that you've just done the freestyle leg on. Well, there's Pellegrino.
He's not got the endurance, has he? And that's what if he could stay with it, he's got the sprint, but he doesn't have the endurance.
Is he making the mistake of when he catches the group, he sticks at the back instead of imposing himself and moving up into second or third and then drop back? Again, it's something that Petter Northug is so good at. When he knows he's going to struggle on the climb, he makes sure that he's at the front before the climb, so he minimises the distance that he's behind when they go over the crest of a hill.
Oh, and Northug with that turn of pace, the incredible turn of pace. I'm so impressed with Lukas Bugel, and he's getting rid of some big names in that turn of pace.
Now, Ustiakov hanging back there. I suspect Ustiakov was trying to shake off the Finns because he's opened up a gap of some 5-6 metres in no time at all. So that looked like a tactical move. I thought for a moment he was running out of puff, but I'm not sure that that is the case. And one way to stop the slower teams hanging on is just to control them on the uphill and then make your break away from them, because you know they won't get those 10 metres. And it seems to have had a big impact, Mike. Question is now, will Ustiakov get back in contact with the leading 3? Yes, he will.
Well, this is brilliant, and you know, this is the last climb before back down into the stadium for the final 2 kilometres, so Ustiakov needs to be in the action.
Finland, Sweden and Italy are the 3 nations now who look as though they've been raced out of this one. They've gone through 4 kilometres. Remember, they've got a total distance of 8 to ski. From 7 to 4, Germany leading the way. Krog and Norway in second. France are still in with a chance with Maurice Magnificat, who is an outstanding skier. Magnificat has won World Cup, so don't be surprised to see him in there. And he's a ferociously competitive athlete in third place there. And Ustiakov behind in fourth. He's not trying to close the gap too quickly. A mature performance from him.
What a pace from Bogle. He really hammered the pace up the second of the 3 climbs on his second last rotation. And it really has separated the group. Now it's the turn of Finn Hagen up the front. Bogle staying with them. Ustiakov having a look behind, having a look maybe for the Italian, for Federico Pellegrino, who is really struggling with the pace as it is now.
Norway, Germany, France, Russia, just 1.5 between them. They're through 6 kilometers, 1 lap to go. What's the margin? It's only 5 seconds back to Sweden and Finland, but this is really their only opportunity to close it, and it doesn't look as though Sweden have the spark in their action. Axel Ekström is in an awkward situation. The damage done, and I still think it was an intentional move from Sergei Ustiakov to roadblock him. The Swede could have gone round the outside, Mike. Actually, it was Finland who were just behind Ustiakov, Nusiainen. But if you haven't got the strength, you can't go round.
No, not at all. And it's a little surprise, Ekström being in the team, the 21-year-old. Yes, he's had 6th at the Junior World Championships in the 10-kilometer freestyle. But with Jonsson not feeling good today, he should technically have been in the 4.
Yeah, Krog, again looking over his shoulder. He'll be happy to see that Pellegrini's been raced over it. Do you think Ustiakov's tactics are fair, or do you think that's below the belt?
In which sense? Which one?
Well, just on the last lap, holding off Finland, Sweden and Italy, just dropping back off the lead group. As he got to the top of the climb, he put in a burst, broke away from the chasers and made it up to the leading group again.
Unless he wasn't aware. I mean, but no, you've got to play your tactics.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we've seen it in bike races, we've seen it plenty of times, and those hanging on at the back are using the slipstream to stay with it. They're not doing their fair share of the leading up front, as Krog is now. And all credit to Germany with Lukas Bogle for doing his share of the leading, but he may pay a heavy price. I think he's going to need every ounce of energy he can find if he's going to outwit Russia, Norway, and of course France, who are up there with those leaders as well.
Dementiev taking the anchor leg for Russia 2. He's back in the team after some time away.
Yeah, that was France 2 as well going through, just in case you thought there had been developments. It's not the case. Norway now with Krog start to accelerate. Ustiakov's on the mark, he's right behind him. France in third and looking good. France with Maurice Magnificat would love to take this one and get their second victory ever at Clusaz.
I think I'll stick to what I said earlier, that Ustiakov, I think, will blast up the final climb, try and get 10 metres over Krog on that final climb, and he's putting himself in a position to just create that attack now.
Well, Ustiakov went very hard on leg 2. He had to put in a burst to reconnect with the leaders on lap 3. So how much has he got left to give? We will find out fairly shortly.
Oh, it's picking up now. This is them coming up towards the finish. Well, just a couple of climbs left, so the pace is going electric.
It's steep at the top of this section. Krog still looking comfortable. Skate 2, far further up the hill than most people can manage. Now he switches to 1 and ups the tempo. He knows that this is a crucial part of the course and he wants that inside line. Ustiakov is in danger of tripping over the poles of Krog. Krog there really with the right of way. He had the lead, he had that inside line, and suddenly we're down to 2. Russia versus Norway. France couldn't live with it, and Germany unexpectedly blown away on that last climb, 50-60 metres adrift, but the French still in with a chance, a very good chance of taking a podium finish here in Clusaz, and they would have settled for that at the start of the day. But who's going to take top honours? Will it be Norway, who lead at the moment? Ustiakov of Russia just behind. Krog looking majestic on the ski. He won yesterday in the mass start. Is he going to wrap up the weekend with a team team victory in the 4x8. Here we go, we're into the home straight, and Finn Hagen-Krogh has the best line at the moment. Ustiakov ups the tempo. Has he got the power? I'm not sure he has. Victory to Norway. Russia second, 1:11.25, and France coming home, a creditable third. They're happy with that. It was a great team effort. Gaillard, Genereux, Paris, Magnifica. But what a shame they couldn't quite live with a burst of pace. Finn Hagen-Krogh, Mike, that was sensational.
Well, do you know, he did everything right, and he took that. He was so keen to get that first, the lead line, the inside line up the final climb. Ustiakov wanted it, but he placed himself in the wrong place, and that's where Finn Hagen took this one. 2 races, 2 days, 2 wins for Finn Hagen-Krogh.
Didrik Tonseth took the first leg for Norway. Martin Jonsrud Sundby amused us with his performance on the second leg, trying to double pole the second of the classic phases. I don't think he'll be doing that again in a hurry. He's still on his backside trying to recover from that one. Anders Kluresen on leg 3, Finn Hagen-Krogh, sensational leg 4. I wonder whether the coaches will have a word and say, look, don't be so concerned about what's going on. Concentrate on your own race. Had he tripped up on any of those occasions, there would have been some stern words. There's the local team, and they come third today. Well, there they are, the victorious team. They keep their record rolling.
Well, Finn Hagen, the race he had yesterday, he was on his limit. He was being broken. Sundby was breaking him in the 15-kilometer, but he had that great sprint, and he did the same again the next day, today.
Okay.
Russians seem quite happy with that performance.
Well, they'll take a quick break. The women's relay is due off at 3 o'clock local time, so if you're watching in the UK, that will be a 2 o'clock start, as we just get confirmation of the top 8 positions. 1:11.25, slightly quicker than the normal relay because of the fact that it's a shorter course, 8 kilometres. Sundby providing much entertainment, and it'll be very interesting to hear from him. Hopefully we'll get an interview with him before we go, and he can give us his own feedback on what it's like to try and double pole 8 kilometres of a World Cup course with shorter poles.
Team Norway, congratulations. Didrik, you're leading off a team that's always a favorite to win. Do you feel any pressure today?
We always do, but I felt confident that we had the pin in the last lap. Well, Martin did a little bit disappointing.
Maybe should I let him speak to that?
Yeah, everybody's talking so much about the double polling these days. I saw it as necessary to do a stunt for the classic diagonal, and today I did that, and everybody sees like I got my ass kicked today, and that was beautiful.
So classic will survive, maybe. And Finn, 2 days in a row you get to win a race in a sprint. It's a good weekend.
Yeah, Anders did a great job to cover the gap that we had. So I got the perfect start to my stage. We could start off a little easy, and I could save as much power as possible to the last lap. So it was perfect for me.
Yeah, and I should actually go to that. So Martin gave you a bit of work to do, Anders. How was that for you?
No, it was okay. I was lucky it didn't go so fast from the start. So and it's good to see that double polling isn't always the right choice. So no, I'm happy today. It was exciting until just the last meters. So good relay.
All right. Well, congratulations and thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
They were 3rd place back in 2008. There's the standings, team standings. 2,087 for Norway. Sweden, look at the deficit there, 1,011, and Russia 3rd place. Further down, Great Britain, team standings, and a lot of those points created entirely by Andrew Musgrave, and he's been doing so well this season. No British team today, neither the resources nor the healthy personnel to compete at this level. Well, we're going to finish very soon, and just a chance to have a look at how the action unfolded here in Clusaz. And just the women's relay team coming up later, 4 by 4 kilometers. Starting, we'll start our coverage at 2:45 local time. 1:45 if you're watching in the UK. Thanks for your company. See you again later. Goodbye for now.